Well, let's just jump into it, guys. So we've kind of named this chat Creator's Kitchen. And yeah, I would love just a quick introduction from you both, if you could, and just tell us a little bit about who you are, and we'll start.
Yep, so I can kick it off. For I guess a lot of people in MVHQ don't even know this channel exists, but we have kind of reincarnated the Creator's Kitchen channel in the kind of social section of MVHQ. I'll drop it in the office hours chat real quick. When I started building Enigma, I was obviously looking for other builders to network with and discuss, and obviously looked at kind of what Zenica's doing over there, and 8 ETH seemed like a lot. And I started talking to Jake and some others in the whale chat, and was like, hey guys, like we should be able to do this with all the talent and experience we have. Yeah, most people don't know it existed. So it did exist at one point. It had been like an archives channel that we kind of brought back, and have since kind of been sharing some thoughts and stuff. And my goal is to do kind of similar what we've done with the crypto channel, to where kind of over time we have, I've bugged AI the answer to pin this, pin that, to build out like a pretty good resource list within the pinned messages in the crypto chat. And my goal with the Creator's Kitchen is to do the same, so that over time, and we still have a lot of old messages to kind of go through. I'm sure there's a lot of good knowledge in there as well, but yeah, trying to establish it at the HQ for not only everything that it's known for currently, but also like the types of projects and businesses that come out of it within this Creator's Kitchen. So hoping to, like I said, bring more awareness to that, and kind of as part of this, hopefully we can have some kind of monthly touch points. Raga Prince had one a few weeks ago, kind of talking about frameworks for building projects, and we've pinned that as a resource. And yeah, the goal today was kind of share some, go under the hood to as much detail as we can, and answer as many questions as we can of what it's been like the last few months now building Enigma with Nifty and I, and talk about kind of how it started, how we got the team together, pain points, wins, successes, kind of nitty gritty details. We're happy to dive into as many aspects as we can. But yeah, for those of you that didn't know, I'm the CEO of Enigma. It's going to be a pretty unique project in the space. We had a Twitter Spaces that I can also link out later. Going to obviously focus this conversation around the building aspect, but if you want to catch that old Spaces recording for more about the project specifically, feel free to catch up on that. And then yeah, Nifty, you want to share what your role is?
Yeah, no problem. For those who don't know me, obviously I'm Nifty. I've been at MVHQ for I think like maybe 2.5 years, somewhere around that. But I discovered MVHQ. I feel like I discovered it late. Like I think when I first found the token, it was like 1.8 ETH, something like that. But I was in Top Shot like way early, like when you could just spam packs, like back in the day. And I obviously messed up the bag and sold them all way too cheap back in the day, and didn't make anywhere near as much money as I should have. But I've been in the NFT space and the Web3 space since then, and I have a full set of Bored Apes. I have the M1, M2. I have Azukis. I have Beans. I have a bunch of 10 KDF, which I'm extremely bullish on. And in my Web2 life, I've actually been working in marketing and advertising for almost 20 years. So and the last 9 years of that has been focused on working at Twitter. So I've been there working in 3 or 4 different countries over that time. And I've traveled a bunch to a lot of different other countries, working with companies like Nike, working with Disney, working with Universal Pictures, TikTok, you name it. I've kind of worked with all of them. And when I connected with 0xFibonacci and we're talking about the idea, I initially was talking about coming on as an advisor initially. Was kind of what I was thinking I was going to be doing, and we discussed the prospect and the project, talked about what the team was trying to do, and I was just hyper excited about it. I'm a self-taught trader myself. I generally trade actually traditional markets, so mainly Forex, more than crypto, but we have a lot of similarities and a lot of synergies as far as our interests and our passion points. And I love the fact that Enigma is very focused on giving back to the community and making the project focused on how do we help others succeed as opposed to prioritizing making money for ourselves, which, you know, in essence will come with helping others. So I'm just hyped to be here, hyped to discuss this with everyone and answer any questions that I can.
Yeah, Nifty's our CMO, if you didn't catch that.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Well, again, love to the experience and love the fact that you guys are just OG, not NFT people, but OG MVHQ people. So yeah, and I'm here all the time, and I had no idea we had the Creators Kitchen channel, so I don't know what kind of crack I was smoking. So thanks for introducing that in the very beginning. But let's kind of get down to it. First and foremost is, obviously we have Enigma coming up, but is Enigma your all's first project you've worked together in the NFT space, or have you both separately done projects as well? Just curious.
I can't speak for Nifty, but it's definitely my first project. One of our founders does have a Web3 gaming studio that he's built, and he's done some NFTs. He's been coding since he was like 12, so he's played around with all kinds of fun NFT capabilities, cross-chain and stuff. But I think Nifty and I, this is our first, Web3 project that we're launching ourselves.
Yeah, I can. I've done some consulting work with MetaMask and Crypto.com, but this is the first project that I've like fully leaned into. Yeah.
So what kind of what gives someone the want to create a project in this space? I might be good at basketball, but what does it take for me to be in the NBA? Like yes, I'm a great trader, but what got into you guys to create this project coming out?
Yeah, so again, I'll speak for myself. Like I said, kind of backstory, a lot of you have heard kind of my journey with crypto and NFTs. And again, for those in the spaces, I shared it as well, but just real quick recap. I was basically in crypto since 2017, did 6 years of actuarial consulting, got into NFTs with VFriends, kind of at the start of it, found MVHQ shortly after. And through that, largely MVHQ, the big reason for the success was able to go full-time pretty much a year ago, end of February last year. And when I quit my corporate job, one of my main goals and things I was excited about was to be able to leverage my skills and expertise to help onboard people to the space, to help them, be less afraid of investing. I've always been kind of passionate about financial education and like being a finance major in college and still knowing nothing about like how to invest my 401k and stuff. Like there's just a lot of things that need to be shared with people, both kind of on the traditional finance side as well as, obviously the really cool crypto NFT stuff that's going on. So I'd always wanted to get there, but obviously when I initially quit my job, I still had to pay the bills. So I was still kind of grinding for myself for the better part of last year. Obviously with the bear market, had to, dodge and weave and adjust with the market conditions. But yeah, I got to the point kind of end of last year that I was like, I think I'm ready to start building something, and started playing around with kind of what can I do to, leverage the skills and expertise and connections I have to do something that'll help people.
Yeah, and I'll kind of just stress that, like, the point of me coming on was very much focused on one, the passion that I have for trading, which obviously 0xFibonacci and I share, but also I just want to stress that like this is really his project. Like this is what he has been dreaming up, he's been building, he's been spending months working on. I've come on much later in the cycle as far as the project, but I'm just super excited to get involved, and I love everything about what they're trying to do and the vision and values of the business that they're trying to build. So I think when it comes to exactly what 0xFibonacci was saying, like trading and investing and understanding how to manage money is extremely difficult. It's not something that's taught in schools, even though it's probably the first thing that should be taught in schools. Whereas the reality is that when you can learn that and you can become kind of financially literate, it completely changes the way that you can live your lives, and that's kind of where a lot of this stems from. I think that's where the motivation comes from. But where we're going with it and the way that we're trying to enable people to really take control of their own finances is really exciting, including understanding how to manage risk and how to educate yourselves on how to trade and how to understand markets is going to be a really exciting space.
Awesome. Well, I guess when someone's creating a project, right, they have to first start with an idea. So maybe we can get a quick run through of like how exactly, that process starts for you guys. Like what was that process like? Kind of coming up with an idea.
Yep. So, kind of extending on what I shared with wanting to leverage my skills and expertise to build something. I had kind of started playing around with like what sort of technology exists for like copy trading, because obviously like I was making my ends meet just day trading and becoming or trying to become a professional in that regard, in day trading crypto specifically. And so I started poking around with different platforms, ended up landing on BitGet. They had like the best UI that I found, and started playing around with different settings, following different people, making money, losing money, and kind of testing it out myself. And then kind of how it spinballed from that to, what we ended up with is kind of a lot of different factors. Our CTO, Spaceman, that it's mentioned, has been coding since he was 12. He'd been building an algorithm to help trade his Web3 gaming company's treasury to try and like keep it afloat even during the bear market, so he could keep stuff moving along. And we had connected from that prior business and started kind of talking about, dude, I think we can use this technology that exists and be able to share kind of our trading skills and algorithms with the mass public without ever having to touch anyone's money. And it was kind of a kind of light bulb that went off. Like, this is, a really cool business model that will be kind of a win-win. Well, obviously, we'll have like a partner with exchanges and get revenues from that. And then the education thing, I think is just as important as anything else in terms of the trading side, both in terms of like having people understand what's going on, and then to the extent that they want to, like you said, kind of take control and educate and learn to fish themselves. We want to fully be able to help with that and take someone from like who's never touched crypto all the way to like copy trading, or maybe experienced some person with NFTs that just wants more. To upskill in the trading aspect. So the education side is going to be really fun. We're going to have like micro stuff, macro stuff, life hacks, wealth hacks. One of our CRO is like a wealth manager, so he knows a lot of cool like wealth stuff. But we got to get proper disclaimers, of course, for all that. But kind of a combination of starting an idea, seeing what we could add and how we wanted to, obviously curate it to like a more well-defined go-to-market.
And I guess before I get your answer, Nifty, maybe kind of cater this towards your expertise as CMO. You're working with someone else's idea, which you share values with, right? How have you kind of gone about the marketing perspective of the project? Again, coming on board to someone else's project and again, like sharing the values, but not necessarily being the sole decision maker and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think the benefit of what we're trying to do here, and what I love about what 0xFibonacci's vision really is that it's kind of trying to straddle the line between NFTs and the creator community and the financial community. If you look at most of the ways that financial companies market themselves, they're very corporate. They're very kind of sterile, I would say, in the way that they stylize their websites, in the way that they input information. Everything's focused on disclaimers, and while at the same time you need to have some of those disclaimers, they're going to be essential. The creativity just doesn't exist in the financial space, and I think that's really how I'm trying to bring a little bit more spark to the business and to the creativity and how they market Enigma, and so I'm really excited for the challenge. I think it's a really nice combination between the two, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'll touch on that too, Nifty. Can you share like what you talked to me about? And like, we're actively doing this, but kind of the idea of like coming up with a persona for your brand.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think everybody. I would assume everyone here uses Twitter. Maybe they don't, but the majority probably do. Even if it's just for the Web3 stuff. But if you've followed anything on Twitter, you followed any of the major brands like Nike, brands like Adidas, brands like McDonald's, brands like Wendy's, you would understand that a lot of them behave very differently on Twitter to how they behave on Facebook or how they behave on Instagram or how they behave on TikTok or Snap. One of the things that I learned from my time at Twitter is that brands really have the opportunity to build a brand persona and in essence, a way of establishing some sort of identity of who they are. If you look at the way that a brand like Wendy's interacts with people, they're very like, they challenge people. They're a little bit smirky, like they're a little bit funny. They're such an interesting brand in the way that they communicate, and I think it's such a fascinating thing to understand how a brand can all of a sudden develop a persona that reflects a human being, and that might be a 15-year-old kid, a 15-year-old dude that is a skater. It might be a 40-year-old man that is, a corporate white-collar guy. It might be a 15-year-old woman. Like it really doesn't matter what the persona is, but I think brands have the opportunity on Twitter to really demonstrate their personality, and it's something that I've been working a lot with 0xFibonacci and the whole founding team to establish what is our persona going to be, and how do we really want to communicate and interact with people. I mean, the challenge is that within finance, there's a lot of serious topics that come to play. Like obviously we're talking about money, and everybody cares about money deeply, and they're very serious about that topic. But it doesn't mean that you have to be exactly the same as everybody else. And so one of the things that we've been working on extensively has been identifying how do we want to build our brand persona, how do we want to build our brand personality, and what is the kind of individual that we want to be perceived as.
I love that. Yeah, I had a marketing director once kind of walk me through personas, which I thought was kind of BS. But then he walked me through a pitch deck he did for Nike, and I was like, "Oh, I get it. Okay, this makes sense to me now." So I'm glad you're here to shine some light on that for sure. So maybe let's kind of, I don't know, kind of run into some challenges maybe that you guys have had while you've been creating. I know, Nifty, you mentioned the challenges of marketing this product, but maybe overall, what kind of challenges have you guys had up to this point that you guys were able to solve?
Yep. So I'll definitely take this one. We've had a lot of interesting curveballs thrown our way, and things that we've had, obviously, like, this. Yeah, I'll just get into a few. So one of the things we had to kind of decide early is, do we, this is going to be an access NFT. Do we go the PFP route or pass route? And we spent many days, many conversations going back and forth. Actually had looked into an artist who'd done like a pretty impressive AI project, and given that we had algorithms and stuff, we thought that could be like a cool route for us, and maybe we were bringing on some people that never had a PFP, so could be kind of a cool option for them. But ultimately, we decided that a lot of AI art, obviously, like, while it is has a lot of benefits of being pretty high quality for low cost, it can be perceived poorly by the market for that reason, instead of having a legitimate, quote unquote, legitimate artist do the work. And I was starting to see kind of initial mock-ups, and there's just like some inherent flaws with the design, that like things don't look quite how they would in reality. So ultimately we decided to ditch that idea. Had a little bit of sunk cost that we'd already kicked to this artist, but decided to kind of rip that idea apart and just go the pass route. And we're very grateful we did, because not only obviously we teamed up with Swishy and he crushed it, but we'll be able to scale a lot better now as well, like if we decide to increase down the road. So that was a big challenge. Another big one that we had was, and I guess it's still ongoing, is like, what the heck do we do with this exchange war with Blur and OpenSea? It's a tough time to launch a project just because it seems like almost weekly there's a new terms in effect from one or the other. And so again, we're leaning on our experts and K-Fish and his team to kind of keep us in tune of what's available, and kind of at this point we're just gonna see where things are at a week before we mint, and then kind of make that decision. But yeah, kind of frustrating that we waste countless hours kind of trying to make a decision given the environment, and then it changes on us. So you definitely have to be flexible and like just understand that the environment we're in, like there are things that can change out of your control, and you just have to kind of go with it. Another issue, I guess, not necessarily an issue, but just kind of like learning process has been working with new team members. I think this is true in any environment, whether it's traditional like 9 to 5 or more digital workspace. Like you have to learn the communication styles of the people you're working with, and especially in a I don't know, like a startup environment, like where we're actively negotiating equity splits and compensation, and who wants to do what and what they're contributing. Like they can be pretty intense conversations, but I think what we've done thus far so like really successfully is always like working towards a resolution. Like we've done a really good job of handling some of these hard conversations from the lens of like, let's figure out something that everyone can buy in and get on board with. Like we're not going to have the majority partners kind of just make the decision and everyone has to just go with it. Like we want everyone to have a say, to make sure they're on board with it and spend the time needed to address it up front. And I think a lot of the reason that it's been successful for us is like we have a lot of talented people, but they like have done a pretty good job of like managing egos and whatnot. And I think even just kind of one bad actor in the group can really sour those conversations in particular. And so I think it's really important to find that stuff out early on, because obviously you're going to be building with these people for months and years to come. So you want to make sure that you have the right people on your team. So those are some of the other some of the details. Mint price versus free was another thing that we had a big decision. Obviously, we ended up going the free route for a couple reasons. First of all, just making sure it's accessible for everyone. Like anyone that gets on our Enigma list, we didn't want to price them out and dang, I made the list but I can't afford it. And then after discussing with one of our advisors, Dylan, he had really stressed the free mint just to avoid any kind of the security laws that are still kind of gray areas right now, but they might give some fines and things later on. So we just decided, okay, if we don't sell anything in the first place, then we'll be good. And the nice thing, obviously, we have a little bit of an advantage with our business model that we're going to have good revenue streams coming beyond just like the NFT mint, whereas a lot of other projects like that's really important for them to kind of recoup costs. So kind of allowed flexibility, but yeah, still a big decision to decide, okay, we're not going to take in 40, 50K or whatever it was. Instead, it's just going to be free, and we can do that. So yeah, those are all kind of some of the learning lessons, challenges, and I guess getting organized has been a task in itself as well. Nifty came on board and we threw him into like 10 different Discord chats. He was like, guys, I can't do this. We need to get like a server or something to put all these into. And so we've been getting a bit more organized using ClickUp. It's like a PM tool for everyone. Our COO is kind of leading the charge and getting everything organized for both kind of the task side of it, but also like setting up that we're going to have a separate like kind of Enigma contributors Discord server to keep everything better organized. So yeah, like just a lot of learnings from doing this first startup, but it's been a lot of fun.
That's dope. No, I love to hear how people solve problems, because like there's so many people in this space that it's easy just to assume that like they've never experienced a problem because they're so good at what they do. But even the best people, when they go to create a project, are going to get some pushback. So I always like to hear how things were worked out. So that's great. And another thing that's really interesting is who you're competing with, because in this space, with a lot of projects being games or a lot of projects being, PFPs or groups and things like that, it's really easy to understand who your competition is, right? We're talking revenue models here and things like that. Can we maybe kind of talk about like how you guys have maybe identified your all's competition and how you guys are value propping against them?
Yeah, for sure. To be perfectly honest, we're still actively building out that list. Finding out every week, oh, there's this project that has another algorithm, or this project is also trying to cater to like the trading community. I think it's hard to address, like, I don't want to, go into anyone specifically, so I'll try to just generalize. Like, I think a lot of groups, and there's also individuals, I would say, that have tried to like kind of start, maybe they have similar trading expertise and they've tried to start a group with it. Some of them successfully, like I'm in a few as well. And I think the biggest thing that we're trying to address is like kind of for several different reasons. We wanted to provide people with like total freedom to kind of be able to not only kind of select into whichever tier of utilities they wanted within Enigma, but also like if they care more about the education and learning side versus like actually plugging into like the copy trading stuff, like we wanted to provide something for everyone essentially. Like I said, kind of from the beginner to the more advanced. And yeah, I think a lot of quote unquote competitors, part of their revenue models is charging a substantial amount for access to algorithms and things like that. And in line with kind of our reason that we started the business to make it accessible for people, we've decided to make that completely free. So we're going to have like a totally free trading algorithm like to the public in our Discord. Like you won't even have to have an NFT, and a lot of the groups are charging like $2,000 plus for something similar. So that's going to be like an awesome free utility that we're going to have, as well as a lot of like free education. We really want to like kind of, I don't know, be a good role model in the space in terms of like Nifty kind of touched on earlier, like really being known for doing the things that we don't necessarily have to but choose to help people. And in line with that, we're also going to, really passionate as a collective of, donating to charities and trying to help individuals. And I think as CEO, it's kind of a fun experience for me to start thinking about how I want to structure my compensation and like what I'm going to incentivize with. And a big part of that, I want to be like I want to positively impact like X number of people in the calendar year. And I really want to kind of have proper incentives. I have like a finance and economics background, so I'm pretty excited with the like incentives. They're super powerful, not only for your community, but also obviously your team. And I want us to have like really well aligned and thoughtful incentives to drive kind of the interactions we want.
Great.
Yeah, I can add a little more context as well. I mean, just giving some additional perspective. I think the first thing for me is obviously that the project really isn't reliant on mint revenue. Like I think there's such an enormous debate happening right now in the space, especially around the Blur royalty percentage situation and OpenSea like crashing their royalty percentage minimums and all the rest of it. This project isn't really going to be made, or it's not going to be made or broken on our royalties as far as the NFT mint exclusively, but it's going to be very much focused on what we're actually delivering as far as ROI for all of our community. And I think that's a really exciting thing, and I think it's starting to help us, one, pivot the space as far as thinking about what happens after royalties, and two, potentially also helping out other projects in the future to expand on their mint revenue and turn that into a treasure chest of future revenue, and helping them fund future activities and sustain their business and sustain their projects. But I think beyond that, the strategies around what we're trying to do when you start to think about us versus some of the competitors, and depending on how you want to look at it, there are potentially a lot, but you can, for example, you can copy trade on Bybit right now, you can copy trade on BitGet right now, you can just go and sign up for an account if you're in the appropriate jurisdiction, and then you can just select a copy trader and go. But the problem is that, one, you don't know who that copy trader is, and you're looking at very minimal information when you're making those decisions with your finances. And two, some of those copy traders, especially some of the better ones, have a limit as to how many people can actually sign up. And so if that limit is full, then you have to pick someone else. And so you're quite limited and restricted in who you pick, and you're also restricted in the information that you can get before you are making those decisions. And with Enigma, you're going to have access to who those traders are. You're going to know an enormous amount of information about who they are and their backgrounds and their history and their hit rates. And they're also going to be active in the Discords, and they're going to be talking to everybody, sharing calls and talking about the way that they trade and educating. And so it's going to be far more in depth. And I think that's one point of enormous difference. And obviously the algorithm and some of the other things that the team is working on, that Spaceman, who is obviously the guy who started coding at 12 years old. And I was on a call for 2.5 hours with him just before this. And I was lost for like 40% of that call, I think, because he's just so advanced in the way that he talks about things. But it's really exciting. It's really exciting to see the things that are being built, and it's just the beginning. Obviously, there's going to be a bunch of stuff that's going to be shipped from day one or day zero when we actually go live. But there's an enormous roadmap of things that are going to be coming soon, and additional iterations that we're going to be making to try to add value to the community and make sure that we're informing and giving everyone as much information as possible.
That's great. I love that follow-up response. That's awesome. So a few more questions that kind of come up is, how important has it been, or do you think it will be, working with other projects or communities to help launch or stay relevant longevity-wise for you guys? And maybe not necessarily just for you guys, but from your all's experiences as well.
Yeah, I'll kind of approach that from two frames of mind. Obviously, in kind of the ramp-up phase, we've been, full speed ahead with the collaborations. Obviously, working with kind of our Web3 homes, which for me is MVHQ, Beast, and Taking Shots, kind of two trading communities I'm in as well. But beyond that, of course, we've been reaching out to collaborate with communities to really design that day one community as high quality as we can, but also trying to get exposure in a variety of ways. And so I think having those continual relationships and connections is going to be helpful as you try to roll different things out to market and want to have advocates to be able to share that stuff with their communities. I think it's really important to have those relationships, and collaborations are obviously a really good opportunity to establish those, and having a quality collab person can make a huge difference in that respect. And then kind of secondly, for ongoing stuff with us, like we actually want to, and like we don't have a specific timeline or process for it yet, but we've thought it'd be really cool to kind of look into opportunities to partner with other projects for either providing certain specific elements of our utilities, or if it is another trading group, we could share act as kind of a white label partner potentially to kind of help them tap into the infrastructure that we've been able to pave the way for, and hopefully help them in turn, help their communities to a greater extent as well, versus just being able to like manually make the calls. So those are kind of the primary outlets that we're looking through the lens of collaborating with other communities, but then beyond it as well, I think there's going to be a lot of other cool opportunities, like Nifty said, that we're also exploring. How can we help other projects, make it through the bear and look for creative ways to diversify their treasury as well.
Has there ever been an instance so far that you've had to say no to to a community or project that like maybe you guys got halfway into the conversation or like, what, this is not a good alignment or anything like that? You guys ever had to walk away?
Yeah, we had a group in particular that we're about to sign the collaboration, and then they partnered with a competitor, and for business reasons we decided that we obviously weren't gonna continue that collaboration, but kind of isolated in that respect. And then we've had a couple projects that our collab managers reached out to, and certain communities have specific, I guess, metrics they look for who they partner with beyond actually looking into what it is. And so, of course, those are obviously things that come up as well.
Awesome. So, obviously we just brushed on, other projects and communities in collaboration. But obviously, once you get everything set up, that you have to be able to deliver on the product. So obviously, you're developing some kind of roadmap, whether it's a public one or whether it's not. And I feel like in the NFT space and this industry, it's like literally everything's about the roadmap. So can you maybe go into a little bit more about how you guys prioritized your all's roadmap and developed it from maybe the inception to later on before things way beyond what you guys are going to be delivering here in the next few months?
Yeah, of course. And fun fact, roadmap is like a I don't know, not pet peeves, not the right word, but our COO like hates the word roadmap. And so I don't think we're going to, sorry, what was that?
As he should. I get irritated with it too, but
yeah. So I think we're planning to have, we've obviously got, call it 8 to 12 utilities that we're going to have roughly half of them available at launch, and then we're going to share with people like these are actively things that we're building towards. And so we want to be as transparent as possible to the extent that something has been like fully thought out and like something we do want to do. Obviously, like in terms of what's available or not, like we've just had to kind of decide internally, like, will this actually be ready? And we're obviously going to continue to roll out different things. But the fact that we're going to have so much available day one, I think takes a lot of pressure off us in particular to really press that roadmap narrative. Because a lot of projects like just do the mint and say, we're going to do all these great things. And like, so the community's like, okay, we're expecting all these really great things. But by having a lot of stuff ready from day one, I think that'll take a lot of pressure off us because they are getting that value right off the bat. And, anything else that we add over time is just going to continue to add to that. So to that extent, I think, like I said, we have kind of a plan of this is what we're going to have, kind of core stuff we're going for. These ones are going to be available day one. The rest are, we're working on and we'll roll it out when available. And then we have a lot of other cool stuff up our sleeves, which we'll share, as we're ready to announce it. But I think that transparent communication style not only is it's going to avoid setting unrealistic expectations for our community, so that people aren't, waiting for the specific date and, soon. It's, we don't have to, deal with that kind of constant, like when conversation, and also gives us flexibility, with the development side that, to when there's delays and things like that, which are naturally going to happen, we'll have, more flexibility to let things take the time they need to properly iron out.
Yeah, I think like to try to reiterate and something that 0xFibonacci and I were talking about when we were mapping out the website design was, this is not a project where it's like you mint the token and then you either speculate on it or you sit on it for 6 months, 9 months, and then you wait and you just hope that the team delivers on the things that they've promised and that it delivers utility or it delivers whatever it is that you're hoping for. This is something that from day one or from day zero, it's going to have immediate impact. It's going to have value that's delivered through holding that token. So I think the need or the necessity around explanations of a roadmap and what's going to come in the future, while there is a lot that's planned, it's really not as necessary in this instance, because we're not talking about something that has no utility at mint. We're talking about something that has an enormous amount of value from the moment that you have it. So as soon as that token is minted, you're going to be able to activate all of those value settings, all those different benefits from that day, as opposed to being like, well, those things are going to come, in a month's time, in 6 months' time, in 12 months' time. And so it's probably a little bit different, I think, to how most projects would structure when it comes to defining a roadmap, which is largely based on retaining interest and retaining focus and attention and excitement as they build. Whereas this is going to be something that is launching built and then additional things are going to be built on top of that.
Got it. And you guys kind of brushed up on specifically Fibonacci on the people that you're working with, right? The people that you've hired. Nifty being one of them. Sorry, Nifty, this question won't be for you. But how have you, when people are creating projects and stuff, if they don't know anybody, if they don't know, like for instance, you can't always, not everyone can have K-Fish, right? As their, the person behind their contract and things like that. So how have you gone about trying to find good talent, and how should, maybe to reframe that for the creator's kitchen kind of style here is, how should people go about trying to find talent when maybe they don't necessarily have all the connections that you guys do?
Yeah, so the model that's worked best for us is like who knows the most about whatever we need, and can we either hire them or ask them for someone they know. Has worked very well for us. I think obviously being part of MVHQ owns itself to a absolutely phenomenal network for a lot of reasons, and the fact that we've been able to tap into kind of seasoned professionals in the space, well-connected people in the space, both for, actually helping us with the nuts and bolts, or, having someone that they know that can help us with it. It's been extremely helpful, and even beyond kind of the core like smart contract and NFT art, like we've been able to kind of pull in a lot of friends to help with all kinds of different things. Clear helped with kind of our one pager that we've used for collaborations. Upwealth, Chelsea, and some other friends are pitching in with graphics. Like it's really kind of an all hands on decks approach. And I think the fact that I've always tried to kind of help others along the way has maybe given me a little friendship equity in that regard. So I've been, again, fortunate to be able to tap into a lot of other talented people and know and learn skills that my friends have had that I didn't even know. But yeah, I think being able to lean on proven success in the space, whether it's tapping someone who's been a good Discord admin to help you set up, or someone who knows a good bot dev, or asking for advisor recommendations. I think the space is so new, and we have so much experience in MVHQ that it just asking people like, hey, I need someone for this. Do you have anyone in mind? Or like, hey, I'm really trying to learn this process. I know you're really good at it. Can you try to help me out? Like people are generally like very, and this is not just the Web3 space, but like people generally, like if you're interested in like how they got where they are, and you like respect them for what they do, like people are generally pretty okay with like helping you out and share what they have to offer. So that's what's worked well for us. And then obviously for VAs and moderators, we used iGen, which again is what MVHQ used for kind of their VA whale service. So just kind of for whatever you need, just try to find people who have a proven success record, and either tap them to directly help you, or ask for advice on who they can direct you to otherwise.
Yeah, that's great. And I would even go as far as to say, even if you're a loner, even if you're a type A, it's always nice to know people who are not that type, and who can step outside the box and make those kinds of relations and connections for you. So you can't do it by yourself. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Well, awesome. Well, that's kind of the end of my questions here. But obviously, Creator's Kitchen, I kind of want to make sure that, see if there's any topics that maybe Fibonacci you want to bring up here before we wrap things up.
Yep. So I know a lot of you guys didn't know that the Creator's Kitchen channel existed, but I did ask the few people that have been kind of chiming in if they had any topics they wanted us to hit on. And one guy in particular, I apologize, I'm forgetting his name. Let me just pop over to real quick. I believe it was Prince Soho, asked about kind of the marketing perspective, like do you do the influencer route? How do you balance, trying to get your name out there with the cost associated and stuff like that? So I did want to briefly touch on that because he asked about it. I actually kind of asked Nifty for advice on this when we were first starting out, whether or not we go the influencer route or not. And ultimately we decided with Enigma to go the organic route. While it is generally slower, it tends to be better long term. And so we aren't doing any paid influencers. We are basically just doing collaborations with communities, trying to do AMAs, trying to share word through different communities and advocates and whatnot, and then are just going to continue to try to get our name out there from like I kind of said in a more organic fashion versus kind of trying to bot our Twitter to like 50K people and with zero engagement. We want to really build an organic machine that has the community behind it and kind of is curated towards the people we want instead of just something artificial. So yeah, that's kind of the route we went for marketing so far. Trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I guess.
Oh, go ahead. All you, man. Sorry.
No worries. I did want to just briefly touch on. So one thing I dropped in the Creators Kitchen is the Trevor had a lean startup process numbers therapy, which is absolute money for a lot of like business startups. I really think it's a good value add. So I did want to just like throw in a blurb for that briefly, but then also kind of in line with that, for us, I think it's been a good question of like what is worth paying the premium for or not. And I think for the most part, trying to keep things as lean as possible leading up to launch is like obviously the best way to do it to the extent you can. But yeah, we ultimately made a decision like we want to be perceived, the brand image that we wanted to approach the market with quality and like give people a good minting experience and like have things go as planned as best we can. So that's why we decided to kind of go with the best with Swishy and Kfish and like these known players, even though it comes with a slight premium, of course. We decided to kind of actively go that route versus, just having our CTO spin up a smart contract that like has all these, like maybe it had a bunch of these gaming elements still embedded versus being specific to like what we need. So those are kind of decisions we made. But again, it comes down to what your budget is. Like starting a business isn't free. Like you need to definitely have a good bit saved up to be able to launch it and hopefully be able to share that with your partners. But yeah, I think it's important both to try to keep things as lean as possible, but also like try to think, okay, with what we have to work with, like where is it worth, spending that premium to get a little bit more quality.
It also pays to have friends that have money too. Help invest in your shit. No, I'm kidding. Awesome. Nifty, did you have anything that maybe you wanted to enlighten us on either? And it's okay if not. I'm not putting you on the spot, I promise.
I want him to talk about the kind of website design that we also went through in terms of like how you design your website to encourage the activities that you want. And then if you have anything else, feel free to add, Nifty.
Oh shit, man! How much time do we have? I'm pretty sure when we went through that last conversation, I think it was 4 hours that we were on the phone for.
Let's do the 2-minute summary.
Yeah. I think like, when we look at, and this comes back to what I was talking about at the beginning, which is that, if you look at Web3 businesses, especially NFT projects, you look at sites and you can easily compare these sites. You look at sites like Other Side, you look at sites like Azuki, you look at KPR, you look at any of these kind of PFP focused or like metaverse focused sites. They're very clear in their intention, right? But at the same time, they're also not overly salesy. And I think in the NFT community, which is a young community, a community that has been overexposed to advertising in all platforms at all times and touch points, these are people that they largely just reject anything that's even remotely salesy. If you throw that at them, if you do the traditional corporate style, like the way that the Web 2 website design, it's just really shitty, and most people catch on to it quite quickly and just have no interest in partaking in it. And I think that Web3 has really defined itself as being separate to that and being disconnected from that world. But you also need information, right? Like you also need to know what are you actually going to be buying, and what are the specifics, and what are some of the features and benefits, and the disclaimers and the conditions. And there are some elements of complexity that do come into play, especially with a project like Enigma. And so, in essence, what we've been trying to focus on is really making sure that one, the priority is on helping people understand that this is like a vision that is being built across several individuals working as a group, as opposed to one vision, or as opposed to just a group of guys that are trying to make money. It's really a vision of how we're trying to help better everybody in the financial space, and help everybody that just doesn't get that access to financial education and literacy anywhere else. They don't get it in school for the most part, unless you're studying finance, or in some cases business or economics. But the real intent here is to try to help people, and we're not trying to sell anything. The volume of tokens that are going to be available at mint is not going to be significant. We're not selling it at a price. We're selling it for free, so it's just going to be a free mint. And everything that we're doing, I think, reinforces the fact that we're just trying to, one, help people, and in essence, the business is going to grow and be profitable because we're helping people. And that's something that I'm really excited about. I think when I look at some of the big businesses that have made enormous amounts of money, and founders that have become really happy, like I've spent a lot of time with Jack Dorsey, and he was always kind of in arms about the fact that that Twitter was making money through advertising, right? Like he hated the fact that Twitter was an advertising platform. He hated the fact that it had to be monetized through advertising in order for it to be sustainable. Whereas when he launched Square and the Cash App and everything that came with it, he was obsessed with it, and he just became infatuated with the concept, because they were making money by helping people. They were making money by helping small to medium businesses. From a point of sale perspective, they were helping people understand how to manage their finances. They were helping people how to invest in crypto, and I think that really comes back to exactly what Enigma is trying to do, which is that we make money if everyone else makes money. We make money if we help people. And so we don't need to worry about a lot of those things. We don't need to worry about hard sales pitches or anything else. And so the website is really going to be focused much more on prioritizing the vision and values of what the team is trying to achieve, not just for us, but for everyone else as well.
Yeah, and then to add just a little more color to it, like what's been really helpful for me, like with that design element, working with Nifty, is like how do you design your website to like drive the activity that you want, instead of having a few kind of clickable icons underneath the logo. Maybe people would just think that's all it is, versus like having a directive to have them have a good experience like working through the website. So all kinds of like fun design elements that Nifty's experience has been great to kind of design the experience for people that come to our site, and make sure they are able to get all the information that they want on both desktop and mobile, and just have it designed in a good way that everyone can easily get the information they need.
Right on. Well, this has been a great conversation, guys. Not only like I think for creators, but obviously for people that might be excited for Enigma as well. I know we didn't necessarily dive too deep into everything, but I love the level of conversation, and I love this idea of the Creators Kitchen and possibly doing these kinds of talks later on. So I really appreciate you guys lending your time and your expertise to kind of teach us some stuff, and hopefully this recording reaches a lot of people here in MVHQ and beyond that'll benefit from it. So I want to just thank you guys so much, and everyone for listening live. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to. It's good conversation.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks everybody.
Cool. Thanks everyone.